We're back with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. In the last episode, I talked about the practicality of this philosophy within parenting. And as I thought about it afterwards, I just thought about this philosophy's, these timeless principles and their application towards any area of volatility in life, in avoiding volatility in any aspect of life. It's one of my favorite aspects of the practical side of this philosophy. One of the Vedantic principles is to know your level. Whether that is in surfing, whether that is in starting a company, whether that is in rock climbing, it is so valuable in so many areas of our lives to know our level. The only way to know our level is with humility, is with clarity, self-awareness, is with reflection. And we all know the times in life where we've been overconfident, caught ourselves in situations where we were in way over our heads. Maybe it's a dangerous swell in the water and you're surfing and you're like, how am I going to get out of this? Or maybe it's a life stage where you don't appreciate just how hard you've got to take care of your mental health with something like parenting with a 6-month-old, or running a company, or going out in a new endeavor and recognizing, oh God, I kind of planned all of my expectations around having this all figured out in 6 months, 9 months. And I always tell founders, and by the way, you might hear my daughters playing in the background, as they often do in our backyard. This concept of knowing our level. I remember in my 20s just starting business after business. Like I was saying, thinking, in like 6 months, it's all going to be humming. Now I tell founders and friends, especially first-time founders, the first 16 months, it's going to feel like you're eating dirt. It's something miraculous happens around month 17 where a graph just starts to go up. It starts to become so clear it was all worth it. And month 12, 15, 16, you will have been like, why did I do this? This was such a huge mistake. And then I see friend after friend hit that 17-month mark and they're like, dude, I don't know what it was, but this started to happen, or that started to happen, or we just started to take off month 16, month 17. That is proper assessment. So often in life when we take on something new, we have improper assessment. So this philosophy emphasizes knowing our level. And when we know our level, like a surfer that can surf 3 or 4 foot waves, doesn't try to surf 20 or 25 foot waves. If they know their level, at least, they don't try to surf a 20-foot wave. And in life, it's the same thing. When we know our level, we avoid the scenarios that would absolutely demolish us because we're not ready. We're not at that level yet. That's the first step to avoiding volatility, is you just avoid circumstances that you yourself are not ready for because of that cultivation of self-awareness, because of that cultivation of knowing our level. The second side of avoiding volatility is that when it happens, we don't even perceive it as volatility. The surfer with the 5-foot wave that can handle 5-foot waves craves it, craves the swell in the water, craves the ups and the downs. You wouldn't have any waves to ride if you didn't have the ups and the downs. You wouldn't have any waves to ride if you didn't have the ups and the downs. It's within your level, and you know that volatility you can handle. It's within your level. And when it's within your level, it's not volatility. It might be change. It might be a contrast from before and after, but you can handle it. A surfer on waves that they know they can handle doesn't come in and complain about it being crazy, gnarly, volatile out there. They come in and say, wow, that was so fun. And the more we apply this knowledge about our level to our pursuits, the more we recognize, wow, that was actually really fun. Didn't know what was going to happen, but that was really fun. Ready to challenge myself to a little bit more, to raise my level. And as you raise that level further and further, maybe you do find yourself in the eye of a barrel, going 30 miles an hour in a 10, 15-foot wave, but gliding in harmony with your board, the wave, yourself. Gliding 100 feet, if that's your level, in the midst of what would have destroyed you. Knowing our level and pursuing a philosophical approach to self-mastery allows us to ride these previously volatile situations with harmony, equanimity, with clarity, perspective, and competence. The first step to avoiding volatility, as I said, is knowing your level and applying that to decisions and pursuits in life. The second is through self-mastery. They might have seemed impossible before, but with self-mastery, a philosophical approach to life, it will blow you away just how effortless a really dynamic approach to work, life, family, how effortless it can feel. Because all along, you're just taking the waves that you know you can take, incrementally challenging yourself, but never getting way out of your depths, way out of your level. That self-mastery, that continual incremental pursuit just you're able to ratchet up that level a little bit more. And that consistency, after a few years, after a decade, you can handle 15, 20-foot waves in life with ease. You even start to crave them. And when they roll in, you can actually ride them. The last step of avoiding volatility is in the development, continual, day-by-day development of the intellect. As I mentioned in the last episode, the intellect is the capacity to see the end in the beginning. One of the most fundamental ways that we avoid volatility in our lives with a spiritual philosophical pursuit is that we see the end in the beginning. The more the pursuit, the more dedication, devotion to a philosophical approach, the more daily study and reflection one does, the further in the future you can see. It's as simple as that. The further in the future you can see how this will lead to that, will lead to that, will lead to that. I don't want to go that route. This blind pursuit of, I just got to make as much money as possible. And to hell with it if I'm going to miss the majority of the waking hours of my kids' lives. I'll have so much money down the road. I'll be able to buy it back. Or capacity to see the end of the beginning, recognizing, oh wow, no matter how successful you might get, for 5 decades, you might have $1 billion in the bank account and you'll never be able to get back to the time from when your kids are 0 to 10. No matter how successful someone gets. I saw on a YouTube recently, it was great, just scrolling through YouTube, and this guy, I don't even know who the guy was, but he said, I spent 20,000 hours mastering business. And when my kids were born, I said I want to spend 20,000 hours spending time with them from 0 to 10, because no matter how well I do financially, I'll never get that time back. That is perspective. That is clarity of which waves to take. That is seeing the end in the beginning, 5 decades down the road, and making a decision here and now based around that. Those are 3 areas in which this philosophy helps us avoid volatility. It helps us find flow in life, not get rocked off our board, sent to the hospital, scared to go back out in the water, but in flow, in rhythm. Never complacent, always dialing up maybe the waves you're going after, but always in flow. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.